Composer Gloves here, and this is another video in the FL12 effects series. And today we're going to be talking about the Fruity Delay Bank. This is like the mother of all delays. Okay, so you can do really crazy stuff. If you have not watched my Fruity Delay 2 video yet, go watch that. That explains delay, gives some mixing perspectives near the end. I talk about why you'd want short delay times and things like that. I'm going to run a little bit off that knowledge, but this is just a what is the Fruity Delay Bank, because there's definitely going to be a little series, maybe like 3 or 4 parts that explain how this works, because you can have, now if you're familiar with the Fruity Love filter, which I have a whole series on that too, and it's extraordinarily similar. It's very similar. So you have a whole bunch of different banks, and they can all have their own delays. But within each bank, you can have a separate input. So you could have 3 receive a separate input from input 1, and they have a separate master output. So you could have them both output their own signal. So you could essentially use this as a chorus or a flanger if you wanted. Now you do not have control over pitch, but you have some control over a few other things. Oh man, that'd be cool. If that's what I'd ask for that in the next one. Have some pitch shifting controls. That would be outrageously cool. So you have your input. So we're going to talk about routing in a whole separate video, because that could be a disaster zone, and especially on this one because their volume knobs are suspiciously deceptive. I don't know. So in the middle, that's 0. You would think it's down here, but no, that's not down here. And over here, that's actually only 100%. All the way up is 125%. So there's a whole bunch of weird stuff that's going on. But what makes this plugin very powerful, besides the fact that you can do that, is you can instead have one input source, turn the master out off, and route it to the next bank. And so you can set up a chain here. And you might be going, why would I want a chain of delays? Why don't I just open up more delays? Well, first, less processing. So that's one. But you also have these filter options. You have feedback filter, and then you just have a regular filter. And you can set these post or not post. And another thing that's not super intuitive is this off. It looks sort of like a button, but it's actually, you can right click and select a type of filter, or you can just drag. So if you're brand new, you might not find that. So there are a few controls in this plugin that you just kind of have to know where they are. You have an oversample option, the 2 times oversampling. We'll talk about that. You have a feedback section, so you can affect your feedback. This is essentially the Fruity Delay 2 plugin, only even this has more options. So just so you know. And then we have our feedback filter section, which is where you can affect your feedback through another filter. You have grain. So granular synthesis. This is a really basic granular synthesis. This controls basically the grain size, and this controls the grain shape envelope that gets the grains. So we'll talk about that too. And then you have your out. And so let's set up something real fast just to show you what it is. So we have that, and what we're going to do, and I'll explain this all in a future video, probably the next one, is I'm going to take the master out, I'm going to turn it off, and I'm going to route it into the next filter. And so right now, nothing's coming out because I told the master out, but it's still receiving an input. So let's come over here to filter 2, turn it on, or filter bank 2. And this is receiving it. I do not want this to go to the next one. I just want this to be a 2-stage delay filter. I want this delay to be at twice as the length of the original delay. And I believe that was 3. Yeah, 3. So I'm going to make this one at 6. I'm going to use ping pong, and I'm going to pan it to the left. It will not receive its own input, so I don't want the own input. So see, it's really important that you know, otherwise you're not going to be able to make any of these decisions. So you have to know what these things do. I want it to output a signal, so now my routing is done. And I do not want to mess with this filter. I want to mess with the filter feedback. I want this filter feedback to be a high pass. And I want the filter order, which we'll also talk about, to be 3, so a really sharp filter. And I want my cutoff for my high pass to be relatively low. I want it to pass many high frequencies. Actually, you know what? I'm going to set it up higher just so we can hear it clearly. So 65%. I have no idea what this means in terms of hertz yet. When they give you a percent, it's sort of arbitrary. I want my resonance to be low. You can have real problems with you might rip your headphones off if you set your resonance wrong, because it'll just keep getting louder. So you got to be careful with your resonance. And this is the gain that hits the filter. I'm going to set that up a bit because I want to hear it. You can actually go overboard to 200%, which you may want to do if you have a really weak signal by the time it reaches your last delay unit. Maybe you're using all 8. I don't know. And I'll oversample it because I want some quality, and I'm not going to mess with the granular. So now we have this. Oh, you know what? That panning, let's put it in the middle. And so it's kind of out there. Now, this double the delay unit probably wasn't the best idea because I'm only outputting it once. If I output it twice, it probably sound pretty cool. Here's it with a half delay time. And my cutoff is still pretty high. I should have gone with my get and gone lower. And let's go ahead and move this back to 6. And let's go to filter 1 and output a separate volume for that. This one will not be filtered. So off. And don't go to the one that says not. That does not mean it's off. So that's a whole separate filter. So there we go. And now we've got this. As you can see, you could create some, this isn't even reverb. Technically, this is like the basics of reverb. Like if you got really crazy, you might be able to make something that sounds like reverb from this. But as you can see, with our filtering and all these different things we could do, we could create some really crazy effects. And from a producer point of view, that's really cool. You could probably get pretty nerdy and try to simulate reverb and calculate different filter types and stuff, but we're going to talk about this and what it does. So that's Fruity Delay in a nutshell. Hopefully you got a feel for it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, subscribe, and have a blessed day.
Opposing wolves. Reversing.